1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 14. All right, we're live. Okay, we're playing a game that's got a new bug in it. Yeah, that sounds really stupid, but yeah, give me a second while I fire up Fallout 2. We're playing a game that has a bug in it. What other game could it be? It's Fallout. Clearly, we're playing Fallout 2 if there's bugs. Why is the best game of all time got problems? All right. I'm going to show you what this bug is, and I'm going to show you how to overcome it. It doesn't matter what version of Fallout 2 you're playing. It doesn't matter what compatibility you're playing it in. It doesn't matter what machine or Windows you're playing in it. It's going to happen. But anyways, we're playing Fallout 2 1.02.31 SFAL 3.3 Alpha. Again, regardless of SFAL and patches, it's still going to happen. And it doesn't matter what difficulty you have your game set to. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. So for our purposes, I'm going to build this. No, I don't want her to be Trinity. It's Affinity. Affinity is her name. And she's 32. And it's a female sprite, as you can guess. So what's going on is that there's a new bug. And it's probably always been there, but nobody ever noticed it before. Well, I noticed it, and it is a problem. And it does delegitimize basically a whole lot of games in its own special way. Because what it does is, I mean, it doesn't delegitimize every game, but because there's a lot of situations where it doesn't really affect you at all. Let's see. There we go. Okay, and then let's save it again. Alright. Yeah, because there's a lot of ways that it might not even affect you. So let's get started here. You always want to have good form. You always want to have good form. So what we're going to do is, since I just freshly installed this and I just freshly patched it, I have to go up here. But so if you don't like the nature of this video and if it's not convenient enough for you, well, I'm freaking sorry. Because I have spent the better part of a week trying to figure out this bug so that we can move forward. So if you don't like that you have to wait a minute, well, then, you know, I don't know what your freaking problem is, because I had to wait hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of minutes to find out what we now know about this game, which has enriched us all, as you'll see. This was so difficult to figure out. So difficult to figure out. And I can debug it, but we're debugging it analog. We're not debugging it digitally. You know, you debug it, and we're going to run over to this guy to have him catch us. We'll take a biff, but that's, or, you know, a little bite, but that's okay. You know, somebody with greater computer skills, they could debug it from a digital point of view. I can't do that, but what I can do is I can debug it from an analog point of view, and I'll show you how you can use the tools that you have at your disposal to fix this. Hey, Soundsphere, how are you doing? Alright, so I'm going to have to fight this guy because there's no way I'm getting around him. But in the meantime, we'll... Oh, no, shoot. But at least we get a punch. Now, and that's the benefit of being heavy-handed, is when you do hit, it's a doozy. It's a doozy. Did you hear that ant? He was like, dear God! Like, my fist just crashed into its skull and his entire skull just caved completely in. He's like, dear God! I mean, like, if anyone ever hit you that hard, you would just instantly die. And what's so fun about her is that she's so dumb. She's just the dumbest idiot in the whole world. She can't do anything right, but she's guided by the hand of God. She's guided by the hand of God. Alright. So all we gotta do is make it to the den, and I'll show you how to do this. But yeah, so you look into her eyes, and it's like, you know, on an old TV, when you don't have it plugged in, you get all that static interference. That's what it looks like when you look into her eyes. It's just static interference. So watch what happens, because when I get out of combat, he's going to turn, but sometimes he'll stand in the doorway and I can't get through there. This time he didn't. I can get through it. We get our daily double here. Remember, you sneak and then, hey K Rasta, yo, yes, K Rasta. So I did unblock you. I did unblock you. I remembered to do that. So we're gonna save here, and then that way, if we biff this steel, we can just do what we gotta do. All right, good. Then we can just do a quick load. But that's because look at that. I mean, he quickly dominates me. Yeah. All right. So now, boop, through the chute we go. So we're making quick work of this. So what we do is we just run right to. We go to Klamath just for a second so that we can. We go to Klamath just for a second because I'm going to get a guns and ammo book. It's a lot more convenient to do what I got to do with a guns and ammo book than it is to waste all my precious time and your precious time looting and pillaging. So, and plus we'll just reload if anything happens. But I'm going to show you this bug. And so yeah, this required paperwork. This was, so I'd have to say this was awful. To best describe my experience, it was awful trying to debug this. It was horrible, but I finally figured it out. Alright. I had to play the game. Oh my god, it was awful. Alright, so let's go to the den. Because I can't demonstrate what the bug is and how to unbug it if we don't go to the den. It's the only place that sells the jet. But it is cool to think within just a couple minutes of the game, you know, you're getting high-powered drugs. Alright, see that girl running around? If I didn't use that first aid skill right then and there, then she would have went into combat with me, and she would have killed me because I have no armor. That's why as soon as I get in town, the first thing I always do, I hit the 5 button, and then I use it on myself so that I pass time for half an hour. Alright, so watch this. Hopefully he's got a good haul. So I'm going to show you what happens here. So here's the bug. So we'll take the 7. Alright, here's the bug. And I don't know how I never noticed this before. So you take the jet, and then we get addicted, okay? So if I have 5 action points and 1 strength and 1 for if I have 5 action points, 7 strength, and 10 for perception, what should my addicted levels be once I'm off the drugs? Let me rest another day just to make sure. Well, I should go from 7 to 6 for strength, from 10 to 9 for perception, and I should go from 5 to 4 for action points, which is fine. This is where we're at. We went to 6 to 9, and then action points are at 4. Now, if you've got a corrupted file, then first off, that's not even going to happen. That's not even. You're going to have to reinstall the game like 1,000 times to get it to fix. So if you're playing it, and even when you're addicted, it doesn't take a point off of your action points, and it doesn't take a point off your strength, and it doesn't take a point off your perception, then you need to uninstall all traces of the game, which means you need to go into your downloads. So open up documents, go to downloads, and erase all traces of your installers in your downloads, and get rid of it, and get rid of the game too. And use a good computer cleaner and wipe that off, and then install the game. And you just keep installing it until you can be addicted to Jet and have the correct. See, then you know that at least that part of the game. I'm telling you, this is a real problem. So the Jet bug encompasses two problems. One is you'll get addicted, but you won't suffer the addiction, and then you're definitely cheating. Your game is disqualified, and it's an automatic game over. And if you continue to play on a world record kind of a stage, then you are 100% cheating, and you're a disgrace if you know about it. If you don't know about it, then you're not a disgrace, but you're still cheating, and your run is definitely disqualified, even if it's got world record next to it. All right, so now let's take a look at what happens when I take a Jet. So we know that when I take a Jet, I'm supposed to get 2 action points, right? So look what happens here. You gained 2 action points. 2 action points. Now in review, how many action points did I just have? I had 4. But look at what happens when I go to my character screen. I have 7. I have 7. I just installed this game. I didn't even test it before I fired up this stream, but I'm so comfortable with the bug now I know what it does. So look at what it says. You gained 2 maximum action points. But when we go to our character screen, we went from 4 to 7. We actually gained 3. That's a bug, and that is cheating. That is cheating if you continue to play that way. But I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm going to show you how to fix it. So watch what happens. So we'll rest to get back off the drugs. Now, the first dose of Jet that you take is going to take you from 4 to 7, so it gives you 3. The menu on the bottom left menu where the little bit of commentary says you gained 2, right? So the script that you're reading, it clearly says that you gained 2 maximum, but instead we actually gained 3. And then, but when we rest a couple days, it acknowledges, it says you lost. Oh, then what does it say? And then it says, but then it says we lost 4 action points, and of course we didn't lose 4. We lost more than that because we had 7, and we lost more than that. So you can't even trust that. So that's a bug. So what you have is an incompatibility from what you're reading on this window versus what you're seeing here, and I've finally identified it. So how do you fix it? Well, this was a pain in the ass. So what I did was I made a graph, and I graphed all of the days. So what I discovered was that if you took Jet on the 2nd of August and you became an addict, then you'd have to rest to the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th at 0800, the bug goes away. So obviously, so we have to rest basically 10 days. But we're going to rest 12. So we're going to rest until, because obviously it's the 8th in this example, but on the data when I was charting everything, it was on the 2nd. So it's apples, bananas. So, we're addicted right now. It's the 8th, and we're going to rest until the 20th. And then watch what happens. Now, when you go to Wikipedia and you take a look at the Jet and the buffs that it gives you and the debuffs it gives you after you withdraw, and when you take a look at the permanent debuffs, again, Jet being a permanent, unless you have the Jet cure, the quote-unquote permanent debuffs you get for being an addict after, the 48 hours after taking your first Jet, and it makes no mention of this. It makes no mention of this at all. Now, it doesn't matter what version of Windows you use. It doesn't matter if you're playing it in a virtual machine where you're playing in like an artificial Windows or Linux. It doesn't matter if you're playing it on Windows 95, 98. It doesn't matter if you're playing Windows XP Service Pack 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't matter if you're playing it on Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10. It doesn't matter if you download it. It doesn't matter if you download the installer package from GOG.com. It doesn't matter if you download the installer package from Steam. It doesn't matter if you take your computer and you put it on a catapult and then you launch it into Stark's Pond. It doesn't matter if you go you know, Protocol 0 on it, and then you get another computer, and then you install it. It's still going to happen. Okay, so it's a worldwide. It's a worldwide bug. It doesn't matter where you install it from. It doesn't matter what equipment. It doesn't matter what hardware. It doesn't matter what software. Okay, but if you're playing it and now you know about it and you're running it without debugging it like I'm going to teach you, you are cheating now. It's now a formal bug, and you're now formally cheating if you don't. So now we've rested. So now look what happens when we take a jet. We go from 4 to 6. See? We fixed it. We fixed it. So now the game behaves. So if you would take a look at Mentats, drugs of the like of Mentats or Buff Out or Psycho, what do they tell you about addiction effects and the withdrawal effects, become addicted? 14 days after the 14 days after the last dose of drug that you took, whether it be Mentat, Buff Out, or Psycho, the addiction effects, they wane, and you're no longer susceptible, and you're no longer debuffed, right? You know, and that's the truth, and that's well known. But what does it say about for Jet? Nothing, absolutely nothing. All we know now is that there is a bug, and that when you're starting and you're going to want to play, and you're playing a very comprehensive, he says, is a bit loud as usual was, by the way. Oh, okay, I'll fix that. I will fix that. I'll fix that. Yeah, because when I reinstalled my broadcaster on my computer, all the settings got back to their normal. So we're going to drop the mic down from 100% to 66%. All right, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that, guys. And then, all right. And then I have my game audio coming through at 38%. So what you're supposed to hear is this slight background audio of the game and then me, like, clearly talking over it. But I shouldn't be blowing you away. Thank you so much. All right, so back to what's going on. So what's going on is you debug. So that's called debugging a bug by analog means. Debugging this bug by digital means would be to play the game and to watch all kinds of code playing in the background and then analyzing patterns and then finding a bug by isolating patterns and then rewriting the code so that that bug no longer occurs. That's the digital method. This is the analog method. Now, I'm not going to be able to summon somebody from Kill Apps to you know, reverse engineer this anytime soon. They're going to want money. But this works. So now watch what happens. So we'll rest a couple days. We'll rest a couple days. And then we'll even rest one more day. And now every time moving forward that I use Jet, I go from 4 to 6. I go from 4 to 6. So look, we're at 4. I take a Jet. And we're right on the money at 6. So in review, the first time you come in here, you talk to Tubby, you buy your Jet, and what happens? You'll buy 7. And then you can even save that. It doesn't really matter. And then you'll take your Jet. Come on, get me addicted. There we go. So remember, once I had debugged it, what happened? I rested for 48 hours and I went from 4 action points to 6. So we proved on a live stream that once you've debugged it, it's permanently debugged moving forward. It's permanently debugged moving forward. So now I'm just making sure that it's saying you've completely, we need Jet right now. So I took the Jet on the 2nd and I became addicted on the 2nd. 3 days later, I took another Jet and look at what happens. I go from 4 to 7. I go from 4 to 7. And that's not wrong. That's completely bugged. That's not wrong. So, but now look what happens. So we'll reload. But now look what happens. I get addicted. It's the same date. Look at the date. It's 0200 I mean, it's the 2nd of August, year 2241 of our Lord, at 08 in the morning. All right, now look at what happens if I Pip-Boy to the 11th. So we'll Pip-Boy. And actually, I'm going to Pip-Boy, in this particular case, yeah, okay, so I'll Pip-Boy till the 11th of August. And now look at what happens when I Pip-Boy till the 11th of August. Now, I ran this test, and I Pip-Boyed all the way up to the 10th of August. And you know what I found? So the 3rd ain't going to debug it, the 4th ain't going to debug it, the 5th ain't going to debug it, the 6th ain't going to debug it, the 7th ain't going to debug it, the 8th won't debug it, the 9th won't debug it, and the 10th won't debug it, but the 11th did. So with that data, I could then create a little theory that to debug it, you had to rest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total days. 9 total days you had to rest. So and then once you do that, you've permanently debugged it for the rest of the game. So now take a look at what happens. We're at 4. I take this jet and we go to 6. Just like that. Bada bing, bada boom. Realest guy in the room. So that's how you bug it. So if you're doing say you're doing a long play and you want to play it vanilla. And you want the game to be as maximum as vanilla as possible. What do? Well, the first thing you do, like say you go on a random encounter and you use jet. Well, after that, you'd load back up on the world map and then you'd rest for 9 straight days. But just to be sure, rest for like 10, 11, or 12. For me, when I'm streaming, I'll just rest for 12 because it's only 15 more seconds on the Pip-Boy. He goes, God, this is complicated. So take a look at what happens. So let's reload it back up. Now take a look at the date. It's 02 August 2241 at 0800. So we'll take. You think this is complicated? I'm the one that had to figure it out. This was horrible. So now we'll rest 8 days. So we'll rest until the 10th. And watch what happens. We'll rest until the 10th and watch what happens. And then you go all the way down the list. You rest till the 10th, you rest till the 9th, you rest till the 8th. Doesn't really matter. So what this means is that it doesn't matter when you become addicted. Like, it's not important that you become addicted at exactly the 2nd day of August of 2241 of our Lord at 0800. It doesn't matter what the date was you got addicted. What matters is how many days go by after you get addicted before the bug is defeated. So now we have now rested exactly 8 days after becoming addicted, and look at what happens. We have 6 action points here. We take 1 jet, and we go from 3. We go from 4. Look what it says. You gain 2 maximum action points, but we had 4, and we went to 7. All right. So that sucks balls, right? That sucks balls. So the game says you gained 2, but no, we gained 3. And now look at what happens if I take another one. I'll go from 7 to 9. So it corrects itself, but it doesn't matter because I went from 4 to 9, which means I took 2 jets and I got 5 action points. That is not good, folks. That is not good. At this point in the game, you should be going from 4 to 1 vial of jet takes you to 6. Another one takes you to 8. You should have 8 there. If you're playing with 9, you're cheating. So now let's take a look. So we'll reload. Now watch what happens. Just to prove, we'll rest until the 6th. Okay, just to prove to you that it doesn't matter what day you become addicted. It matters how many days after you become addicted go by, and at that point, then the game corrects itself. So now it's the 6th. We'll take jet until, well, I better save, because I don't want to, there is a chance that I won't get addicted. And then, it's a small chance, but it seemed, okay, there we go. All right, so all right, so it's the 6th. So in other words, so if I were to rest, 9 days, it'd be the 15th. So if I rest for 9 days, what do we know based on the data? We know that that's not enough time to debug it. But I'll show you. So it was the 6th when we took the jet. We'll rest for 9 days, which means it'll be the 15th, right? Mathematically, that works out. So what it means is that on the 15th,